This April, I'm driving the all-new Toyota Land Cruiser. That's just what it's called here in the United States, but we know it's based off the J250, which is the Land Cruiser Prado. The Land Cruiser Prado is the same thing as the Lexus GX, it's different naming, slightly different interiors. But over in Australia, they've always called this vehicle the Prado. And they're getting a different powertrain in this Land Cruiser that you guys might be super jealous about in North America, since we won't be getting it. We're over the Australian press room. Land Cruiser in Australia is like the same thing as koala in Australia. Land Cruisers are the lifeblood of the country, like kangaroos, like Vegemite and Tim Tams. Land Cruiser is that important to the culture there. And of course, they have the J300, which we don't get anymore. Rest in peace. But the J250 now, aka the Prado, is like the same size of the J300, just different powertrains right around the world. So I'm going to compare this powertrain to our powertrain that we're getting stateside. But before that, I wanted to get into what that powertrain is and why it's seemingly pretty special of a powertrain. First bullet points right here. 5 variant Land Cruiser Prado introduces 48 volt technology across the model range. We're not getting a 48 volt mild hybrid. We're getting a strong hybrid with the 2.4 turbo hybrid setup. Now, another thing I'm a little jealous about is that the Prado gets a 5 variant range. There are 5 different trim levels for the Prado over there. What do we get in the United States? 2.5. You have the 1958, which is the entry level, which starts around the mid 50,000 range. And then you have the Land Cruiser. That's just what the trim is called. It's not premium or luxury. No, it's just called Land Cruiser. And then there's the Launch Edition, which is a limited run, right? And there'll be continuous limited runs of the Land Cruiser, I feel like. So we really just have 2, maybe 3, and Australia gets 5. It's a much bigger market for the Land Cruiser in Australia than it is stateside, so it makes sense. GX, GXL, VX, and Flagship Cockadoo. That is an awesome name for a flagship trim level. Now, there's also the addition of a new high-end altitude variant aimed at adventure-focused customers looking to take their Prado further off-road. Now, our Land Cruiser North America only has 2 rows of seats. We know in the Lexus GX, the GX has 3 rows of seats as an option. Well, should I say standard, but it's optional to have that 3rd row seat deleted in the overtrail trims on the Lexus GX. Now, Australia gets the Lexus GX as well, so they have their own trim levels of that. But interestingly, that their GXL trim level, mentioning the GX, that gives you a 3rd row of seats for 7-seat capacity. We don't, like I said, 5 seats is the most and only seat configuration that we have in the United States for the Land Cruiser. The 7-seat Cockadoo has a panoramic moonroof, which is going to be similar in size to what I just test drove in the Lexus GX. Has illuminated side steps, heated and ventilated rear seats, heated steering wheel, adjustable driver seat thigh support. I think the Lexus GX has that, I think, in the luxury trims and maybe even in the Overtrail Plus trim, if I remember right. It has a digital rearview mirror, head-up display, and a rear torque sensing limited slip differential, which is in the Lexus GX as well. I mean, these 2 models are so darn similar. It's crazy. The Lexus GX and the Land Cruiser. They always have been, right? Now it's just more evident for us Americans. But the Prado variants are powered by this same 150 kilowatt, which is 201 horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque, which is 368 pound-feet of torque, 2.8 liter turbo diesel 4-cylinder powertrain, now made it to 48 volt mild hybrid technology, 8-speed automatic as well, just like ours. But it's not the first time Toyota has brought this powertrain to any of their vehicles, this mild hybrid. If we look back to this model, again, a model that we can only dream about having in the United States, is the Hilux. And this Hilux is kind of like the global version of the Tacoma. If you're not familiar with it, it's a legend. And Toyota knows it and has even named one of their trim levels Invincible. Go figure. But the new updated 2.8 liter turbo diesel 4-cylinder powertrain actually came out in this Hilux first. And let's just dive into some of the details. The engine uses a reinforced belt drive system to turn a compact motor generator, which in turn charges a 48-volt lithium battery installed beneath the rear bench seat. In our hybrid, that stateside, which is a a much stronger hybrid assist, that is where the battery is as well. It's underneath the second row of seats in the Land Cruiser. It's going to be the same in the Prado in Australia as well. Braking energy is also regenerated to supply the charge to the battery and provide additional braking performance. And what's nice about this, and also another huge reason I love hybrids, it really takes a lot of stress off of your rotors and your brake pads. But not only that, it seemingly helps out quite a bit when you're off-roading, having that regen, saving your brake and steep declines. So you're not only charging your battery on steep declines, but you're saving your friction brakes as well. Now, the hybrid battery only weighs about 15 pounds, 7.6 kilograms, and supplies the 12-volt electrical system as well through a DC-DC converter. It sends up to 12 kilowatts of power, which is like 15 horsepower, and 65 newton meters of torque. I don't know that figure off the top of my head. It's about 48 pound-feet of torque. So 65 newton meters, 48 pound-feet of torque. It sends that through the motor generator to the engine to enhance acceleration, power, and efficiency. Despite that, it says outright power remains the same at 201 horsepower. I don't really understand how that's possible when you're getting an extra 15 horsepower and an extra 40 some pound-feet of torque, but you got to trust Toyota and their numbers, I guess. It also makes the vehicle stop-start engine feature a lot smoother, and the engine can stay off for longer periods of time. Fuel efficiency is improved up to 5%. This vehicle, the Prado, as well as the Hilux, is able to get around 24 miles per gallon. 5% is just going to bump it up to about 25 miles per gallon. So I want to get into the spreadsheet and compare the only powertrain for North America versus the only powertrain for Australia. And I want to see what you guys would rather have down below after I go through the details here. So the diesel's a little bit larger of an engine, 2.8 liters compared to the 2.4 liter gasoline engine that we get in the States. Both of them connected to an 8-speed auto. Diesel only has, with this 48 volt mild hybrid, seemingly 201 horsepower. The one in America gives us 326 horsepower, a night and day difference in terms of power output. And because this is a full hybrid that we have in the States, we can see up to 2,400 watts of continuous power supplied through the AC outlets. You're not going to have that sort of AC output here on the diesel setup, I don't expect. Torque, though, torque is where diesels really excel, as well as efficiency. We're seeing 368 pound-feet of torque with the diesel. However, with our strong hybrid here, we're getting 465 pound-feet of torque. Now, the diesel actually might be able to tow more than our hybrid powertrain here stateside. I'm seeing 3,500 kilograms, which is 7,700 pounds, and that should outdo the Tacoma, the Prado. I need to double check those towing numbers. Yeah, the Tacoma hybrid, seemingly with the iForce Max powertrain, is about 6,000 pounds. So that's where the diesel really shines. 7,700 pounds compared to our 6,000 pounds. Why the big difference when we have so much more torque than the smaller, well, not the smaller, but the lesser powertrain in terms of numbers anyways? Well, the turbo hybrid here is a much heavier setup. You need a much bigger battery. You have a bigger electric motor in here as well. So with this additional weight, you're going to have reduced towing capacity. And that's where Australians will really take advantage of the towing capacity on their diesel. However, on the Lexus GX that has 9,000 pounds of towing capacity, well, here's the thing. This 6,000 pounds I'm getting for the Tacoma. I guess that the Land Cruiser that we get here stateside could have a lot more. So I'll just back up on that before you guys roast me for that. The Lexus GX in North America has 9,000 pounds of towing capacity, 9,096, something like that. It's unbelievable how much it can tow. But that's twin turbo V6. Non-hybrid. I wonder how much reduction in towing capacity we'll have on the Land Cruiser, the heavier hybrid. Fuel economy will go up, towing will go down. You can see with this large nickel metal hydride battery. I don't know the fuel economy on the Land Cruiser in the United States yet, the hybrid, but it should be able to get similar fuel economy, I would guess, to the diesel mild hybrid around the mid-20s. Again, the only downfall of this setup is that it's heavy and it can't tow as much. The diesel, well, some people just love diesels, and I like diesels a lot too. Mainly, I'd say a big part of that is because diesels are so hard to get in North America. They're kind of like a forbidden fruit. So I have such a strong affinity towards them. Yes, the massive towing capacity for this diesel should be more in theory than the heavy hybrid Land Cruisers. So that's where it really comes out ahead. And you can say, well, since it weighs less, it'll be easier on the brakes. It will be easier on the suspension. It'll be easier on the off-road trails. So it's hard to say which one is better. Let me know which one you guys would prefer down below. Can't wait to drive the Land Cruiser in just, gosh, what is it? It's mid-Feb. So in 2 months from now, I'll be driving the new Land Cruiser. I'll be able to share my impressions with you guys on the hybrid 2.4 liter gasoline. But man, it would be sweet if I got a chance to drive the diesel as well. I just drove a massive turbo diesel truck on the channel, and the Sierra HD AT4X AEV special edition. It's like one of the longest names I've ever reviewed, but it was a 6.6 liter turbo diesel V8. Thing had like 1,000 pound-feet of torque. It was out of this world. It was also $100,000. But anyways, I'll see you guys down below. Make sure to watch out that diesel review. I think it's the only diesel review I've done on the channel. All right, I'll shut it down there. I'll see you guys in the upcoming videos. Long live the Land Cruiser Down Under. And man, am I jealous of your Cockatoo special edition.